So continuing my top 40 quarterback rankings, this is my second to last video. I am on number 2, and that honor belongs to Patrick Mahomes, the guy who was just a ton of fun to watch last season. Watching through the tape preparing for this video, I kind of forgot a little bit just how consistently he made plays that I have never seen before. I mean, there's players who have played their whole careers and not made as many flashy plays as Mahomes made in just one season. In fact, most are that way. It was just absurd, and I want to talk about maybe not necessarily the best plays, but the most fun plays to watch, because he had some fun plays last year. Like this one, for example. First thing you'll see is that there is going to be a chief in motion, and since the Seahawk follows him, now Mahomes knows, okay, it's play action. This is going to be a cover one hole, and really the route that Mahomes is going to want to try to throw this ball to at first will be that receiver right there, the number 3 receiver on the bottom half of the screen, the guy who is in motion. It's Travis Kelce, and he is lined up with a linebacker, so it's good positioning, and something you'd like to see if you're Patrick Mahomes. And so as of right now, maybe Mahomes could try to fit it through this window, but the problem is that there's going to be a middle linebacker in the area, so, Mahomes can't just throw it right now, he'll have to wait a little bit longer. But Mahomes doesn't have that much time. There's pressure coming to him, so he's going to have to make a throw quickly. But he can't make a throw quickly because no one's open, so, it's a bad play at this point. But one other thing worth noting is that there is that receiver right there. Mahomes could try to hit him right there. That is something he could do. But instead, Mahomes is going to do something quite different. He's going to go outside of the pocket, which now allows that receiver to get past the middle linebacker. He hits the receiver and is able to pick up a touchdown. I mean, that's just an insane ability to get around the pressure, but then be able to also run into a situation where you're creating a better angle for yourself to make a throw and make a great throw on the run for a touchdown. I mean, that's just absurd. I mean, who makes that play? Really? Maybe Rodgers, but probably not, honestly. I think only Patrick Mahomes makes that play. That's why he's number 2 on my list. The only reason he's not number 1 is just because he's young. That's really the only reason why. If this guy had 3 seasons like this, he would be a lock for number 1. But he's only done it for 1 year, so that's why I have him at number 2. He just made so many, oh my god, how did you do that type plays. And this next one will be another situation like that. It's going to be a cover 0 right now. So it's man coverage, and then the Broncos are going to be sending 6 to rush Mahomes. That's the way this play works. And also, I'm sure you'll remember this play, but you know what? It's fun, so I'm talking about it. One thing you'll see is that the pressure gets to Mahomes very quickly. I mean, he does kind of have a receiver open, but there's a ton of pressure right now. Not to mention, this angle is just a tough angle for a right-handed quarterback to make a throw. So, of course, what do you do in this situation? Well, you throw the ball with your left hand, of course. That's what quarterback coaches will tell you to do. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but for Mahomes, it's working, so keep doing it. Why not? And again, he didn't just do that to show off. I mean, he did that because that was a necessary way to get the ball up to that receiver right there. If he tried to throw it with his right hand, that was a much tougher play, and it's actually a lot easier to... I mean, honestly, I probably would have suggested doing a shovel pass, maybe. But hey, if you can throw with your left hand, then why not? I mean, it worked, so again, that's kind of the thing I feel about with Patrick Mahomes on a lot of these plays. It's like, technically, that's not really the best thing to do, but it worked, so I guess I shouldn't complain. Him and Aaron Donald, they're kind of in that same boat in a lot of ways. We're not necessarily the most technically best players in the world, but they're just so physically gifted that they just make up for it, and that's what Mahomes is. I mean, he was built in a lab, it seems. I mean, he's just ridiculous. Another thing that sets Mahomes apart from every other quarterback in the league, seemingly, is just his sidearm passes. The way that he won't just throw every ball from straight up, he'll throw it from all different types of angles. And that's necessary. It's not just something he does to show off, and it's not just something he does because he's lazy. Like, take a look at this play. It's going to be an RPO, so it could be handoff to the bottom half of the screen, and they also have a receiver running that route right there, and that's the route that Mahomes is going to look to throw to. If he feels like his receiver is open, then he should throw it in that direction. If not, just hand the ball off to your halfback, take away the extra defender, and then you have an advantage there. That's the way this play is supposed to work. And if you see, his receiver is kind of open, but there's another problem developing right now, and it's going to be that Baltimore Raven right there. He's quickly creating pressure on Mahomes, and he can definitely try to make a tackle here. So if Mahomes just throws the ball, just how you typically would, how someone would teach you to throw a ball, then the defensive back could easily tip it up or potentially even intercept it. That's something that could happen. But instead, Mahomes is going to sidearm it and still finds a way to get it to his receiver. I mean, that's just great. I'll show the other angle because it kind of gives you a better idea of how this works, but I mean, look at that. That's just insane. I'm going to try to not just keep saying that's insane or that's ridiculous after every one of these plays, but honestly, that's what I'm thinking when I watch these plays. Even though I've watched all of these like a dozen times now, they don't get old. In my opinion, he is the second best quarterback in the world right now, but also in my opinion, he is the most fun to watch quarterback in the world. And I don't think that's even an opinion. That's almost a fact at this point. I mean, every Chiefs game last year was must-see television, and you know why? It's because of one man, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Sure, they have some other talent, but I'll watch Patrick Mahomes play with high schoolers. He's just that exciting. Let's talk about another one of his famous plays, and that was the no-look pass. The way this play is supposed to work on paper is actually relatively simple. It's going to be a cover 3 zone, and to have a receiver running just right over the middle, trying to get in between the safeties and the linebackers, it's a decent route against this coverage, and it is something Mahomes could look to throw to. The first thing you'll notice is that there's going to be pressure, and Mahomes is going to have to run around that pressure. So now he is in position to make a throw, but if you look at his receiver, he is actually not that open. Mostly because of that Raven right there, who's right in front of him. But keep in mind, this is zone coverage, meaning that Baltimore Raven is looking at Mahomes. He's not necessarily looking at who's behind him. And also, if I do have to nitpick, there actually was a Chief who was wide open on the top half of the screen. So even though this was probably Mahomes' most famous play, he actually could have gotten a touchdown if he realized that was going on. And again, I'm not going to blame him just because the way this play broke down, it was just, he had to find a way to figure something out because otherwise it was going to be a sack. But I just found it kind of funny, Again, I'm not blaming him. Just making an observation. But anyways, Mahomes has to make sure that he gets it to that receiver while also fooling the linebacker in front of him. So that's where the no-look pass comes in. If you see he doesn't look and still is able to make a great throw for a first down, that mattered. That mattered a lot. If he was looking where he wanted to throw, that's probably an interception. So just the guts to pull something like that off is absurd, let alone being able to actually do it. Some people might even say it was ridiculous and insane, but I won't go there. One more play from that Ravens game, and the situation was actually key here. It's 4th down and 9 with only a minute and a half left. Granted, the Chiefs did have all 3 of the timeouts left, so if they didn't get it, it wasn't necessarily over, but it was definitely going to be looking pretty rough. Not to mention, in a 7-point game, obviously a field goal makes it a 2-score game, which would basically spell the end, and with Justin Tucker, who can make long field goals, it would almost be the end of the game right here if the Chiefs aren't able to convert. Not definitely, but pretty much. The way this play is supposed to work is it's going to be a cover 2 zone. What the Chiefs are doing is they're going to have those 2 receivers run those 2 routes right there, and specifically there will be a route trying to get in between that gap in coverage right in the middle of the field, right in the eye of the storm right there, and that's where Mahomes is going to be looking to throw the ball to. If you look, both of these receivers are maybe open, but they're not wide open by any means. There's a small window Mahomes could try to make this throw to, but also Mahomes is under pressure. Personally, I would actually advise him to just make a throw right now, but he's going to try to do something else. He's going to run outside the pocket, and while he's doing that, that's when Tyreek Hill was going to say, okay, scramble, Joe, I'm just going to try to get open. I know that essentially the middle of the screen is still going to be open, so maybe that's where I'll try to look to throw to. He kind of knows that the middle of the field is still going to be kind of open, so that's where he's going to stay. He's going to keep running, but stay in that direction, and if you see, he is a little bit open, but there's definitely 2 Ravens in the area, so this is not an easy throw for Mahomes to make. Not to mention Mahomes is running full speed to the top half of the screen, and he's running out of time at this point, so he has to make this throw now. But he is going to make the throw on it run, and it's an absolutely perfect throw in such a clutch situation for them to be able to get the first down and then get inside the 15. I mean, that's stupid good right there. That's the kind of thing that you pull off playing Madden on the lowest difficulty. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what it felt like watching Patrick Mahomes play, was watching a guy play Madden on a low difficulty. And one more, again, just absurd thing that he was able to do was in the playoffs. He was able to have success in the playoffs, which for a guy who's playing in their first season as a full-time starter, they almost never have success in the playoffs. I mean, I talked about, I believe it was in my Deshaun Watson video, how, guys tend to, when they play in their first postseason game, they just don't play that well, especially quarterbacks. I even brought up in Tom Brady's first playoff run, he actually didn't play that well. I mean, he was fine, and of course he came through when he had to, he's Tom Brady. But he didn't put up anywhere close to the numbers that Patrick Mahomes put up, in his first playoff run. Different eras, so it's not fair to compare the two, but still. Even comparing it to the era, I mean, Mahomes was great in his playoff run. I mean, he did look human at times in the playoffs, so I guess for Patrick Mahomes, that is his version of playing terrible. But again, he came through when he had to. Like on this play, I'm sure you guys all remember it, there was only 23 seconds left and the ball was on the 48-yard line with the Chiefs down 3. When the Patriots went up, I was kind of like, okay, well, it's probably over, but then again, they do have Mahomes, so let's just watch it and see what happens. And what's going to happen is going to be an incredibly impressive play. It's going to be a cover 1 blitz, and what they're going to do is send the number 2 receiver just right over there, right over the middle of the field. It's actually a good route against this type of formation, but just keep in mind, this is a huge situation. A lot of guys would buckle under the pressure, but not Mahomes. So first things first, if you take a look at this, his receiver is going to definitely win his one-on-one matchup. And also, if you look over to the bottom half of the screen, the safety who was playing deep definitely creeped over to make sure that he's covering up that Chief right there. It makes sense. I mean, you have to make sure that you're double teaming at least somebody, but this now means that that first Chief that I talked about is now going to be open. But watch Mahomes' throw here. I mean, that's just a beautiful throw, and that's what results in them getting the ball to the 22-yard line, and that's what led to them getting into overtime. And honestly, if the Chiefs end up winning that coin toss, there's a very real chance that Patrick Mahomes is already a Super Bowl champion. I mean, really, a coin toss meant that much. And also, that is something that bothers me about the overtime rules. I don't really care about the rules itself, but I just don't like how a coin toss actually impacts the game. And listen, I get it, luck is already a part of the game, but in my opinion, why not try to take an element of luck out if possible? And you could still have the same overtime rules, but just not have a coin toss. There's a couple of things you could do. One of which would be just the home team gets the ball first, so that sort of plays into home field advantage. But one way I like better would be, what if both head coaches just write down a number on a card? And you do something like the away team has to write down an odd number and the home team has to write down an even number. And what that number is how many yards you think that your kicker can make a free kick. So, if the Ravens were playing and they have Justin Tucker, they might say 63 yards. And then whichever team has the higher number, well then that kicker has to attempt a free kick. And if they make the free kick, well then that team gets the ball first. If they miss the free kick, well then the other team gets the ball first. That way you're taking that element of luck out of the game and you're still keeping overtime rules the way they are, because I actually do kind of like overtime rules. I just don't really like how there's a luck element involved at the beginning of it. And again, okay, rant kind of over, but it bothers me. It does. And again, I know Patriots fans will be screaming at whatever they're watching this video on by saying, well hey, if they wanted Patrick Mahomes to have the ball, then their defense should have just stopped Tom Brady. Just not give up a touchdown. That's all you have to do. And you know what? That's fair enough. I'm not trying to argue that the Chiefs were robbed or anything. All I'm trying to say is that for Mahomes, it definitely really sucked. I think it could be argued that that coin toss maybe cost Mahomes a ring, although it should be mentioned that Mahomes did lose to the Rams in that crazy Monday Night Football game. Of course, it was hardly Mahomes' fault, but still. So if that coin landed the other way, who knows if Mahomes is the Super Bowl champion. But I know one thing, I have a feeling it's not going to be the closest he ever gets to winning a Super Bowl.